It is beyond time that we drop the spiritual fluff. I am not about to tell you that you need to sage your space, you need to wear a certain crystal, or that you even need to read that best-selling spiritual book that's actually written by a complete weirdo. The harsh truth is that no amount of reading the spiritual books, wearing the crystals, lighting the sage will actually make you inherently spiritual. So what does it actually mean to be spiritual, and how can you become more spiritual? That is what we're going to cover in today's video. Hola my beautiful dreamers, welcome back or welcome to my channel. We merge everything cosmic with everything self-development here to become our dream selves every day. If that sounds like something you're interested in, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, follow me on social media platforms to get more background content, and you can also now sign up for a one-on-one reading with me, as well as download my free astrology cheat sheet. Quick disclaimer, please do not mind my voice. I am extremely congested. My nose is pink because I keep having to blow my nose. My face is all puffy. The allergy season is upon us. I'm filming this on the first day of Aries season. So happy official New Year and happy Aries season and spring equinox. We're kicking it off with extreme allergic reactions. So I apologize for that. Hopefully it doesn't come across too bad on the microphone. But what does it truly mean to be spiritual? If you have been following me for a while, you may or may not have seen my very first Spirituality for Beginners video, which is still my best performing video on this channel. I do stand by the advice I give in that video. However, a lot has changed. And I do think the practices I give in that video can be a good way to discover what spirituality means to you, because it is your specific journey. However, in this video, I want to strip us completely of what we think spirituality is based on what has been sold to us, how we have romanticized it, and how we have commodified spirituality in recent years. Today, we're going more inward and talking about a more stripped version, a more raw version of what it means to be spiritual and how to be spiritual. Spirituality is defined as the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. Spiritual is defined as relating to or affecting the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. Notice that both definitions refer to spirituality as connecting to the spirit or the soul rather than external material things. Whereas I definitely believe certain spiritual tools and texts can absolutely aid us and strengthen our connection, they should not be the primary focus, nor should they be seen as a solution or a means to an end. In my experience and in my own personal opinion, in order to become more in tune with your own sense of spirituality, with your own spirit, essentially, it's by getting more in touch and in tune with your own intuition, your own instincts, your discernment, and your joy. Now, how do you become more spiritual with that in mind? First and foremost, I need you to remove materialism as a form of escapism for your spiritual journey. Although I am no expert or guru in this field at all, nor would I ever claim to be, I am just as imperfect, perhaps more imperfect than the next person. But what I will tell you, through my own shadow experiences of life, if I've learned anything at all, it's that you must strip yourself of the romanticized version of spirituality to become more inherently spiritual. As someone who is a Pisces myself, and I have a lot of air placements, I lack groundedness, and something I love to do, something that actually keeps me motivated a lot of times, is my romanticization of everything. Even though this doesn't always have to be a bad thing, we've become so overly focused on how we dress and whether that's spiritual, what brand of clothes we wear and whether that's spiritual, what crystals we use and whether that's spiritual, what ancient ritualistic practices we use and whether that's spiritual enough, or whether it's this or it's that, or it's proper or improper. And it's just ridiculous because we have a way as humans of over commodifying anything, spirituality included. So the more that you on an individual level allow spirituality to stay so romanticized, so material and commodified, the more that you're going to slip into a delusion of spirituality, into an egotistic spirituality, where more of your spiritual journey is focused on how much you can appear spiritual and delude yourself to thinking that you are spiritual when in fact you're avoiding everything and you're actually using all of this as a form of escapism. And this is the danger with the first spirituality for beginners video that I released years ago, is that it does focus more on the material aspect of it. Now, mind you, I didn't mean it in that way. I do, again, think that it can help guide you and get you started. It's truly a beginner's guide to the actual practices that can help unlock your spirit and your soul, which might be blocked right now. But on a deeper level, if you find yourself getting stuck in the loop of just focusing on the outwards expression of your spirituality through your clothes, through your practices, through a rigid routine, you're losing sight of what really matters on your spiritual journey, which is your connection to spirit. We can also create too much routine around spirituality where we almost make it productive. Like if I don't wake up at 6 a.m. and do my meditation and read my spirituality book and do my journaling, then I have failed on my spiritual journey. And that is just not true. That again is the ego getting attached to your spiritual journey. And I think first and foremost, that needs to be removed. You need to forget everything you know in that sense about spirituality and being spiritual. Essentially, I want you to stop allowing it to be yet another avenue where materialism and capitalism takes over rather than what really matters, rather than the root of your spiritual journey and what that entails. Next, I want you to reintroduce more analog activities into your routine. Recently, you may have seen there have been a lot of videos and a lot of content around analog lives. And this is another thing that we are now commodifying, where you feel like you need to have a certain type of bag, a certain type of journal, and certain types of materials to have a more analog life. But when I'm talking about analog activities, I'm not just talking about being more off screen and being less digital. You can have your computer, you can have your video games even, but what I want to focus on here is greatly reducing your phone screen time. And I know how that sounds. I know this is so redundant. It's so redundant for you to hear, and it is honestly redundant for me to say, but it has to be said. It has to be. I'm sorry, because this is such a prevalent issue, especially if you are trying to be more spiritual, get back in tune with your spirit, and reground your spirit. Taking steps to reduce and minimize your screen time will be key to this journey, truly. Something that I've done more recently, maybe the past couple months, is I took the time to set up a time limit for my social media apps where there's a 15-minute time limit. So every 15 minutes, the time limit will pop up and it'll tell me that you've reached your 15-minute limit. Granted, it does give you the option to ignore it, but really what it is it's kind of like an alarm for my brain, because we tend to scroll, we tend to be on our phones doing whatever we do, and we don't realize how much time flies by. We will spend so much time before we know it just scrolling on our phone, just looking at our phone, doing things that really don't matter, and doing things that don't matter simultaneously overpacking and overwhelming our brain and our nervous system. So it's really a lose-lose. So what the 15-minute time limit does is it just pops up and it makes me think, oh wow, I've been on here 15 minutes already. Okay, time to put it down. Time to put it down. I have also removed the social media apps from the main screen on my phone. I used to have them on my home screen. So as soon as I unlocked my phone, they would be right there and easy to click on and get to. And you'd be surprised by how adding just the tiniest amount more friction to the access you have to these apps helps reduce your time in them, because I moved them from my home screen. So now I have to actually scroll to my phone app page to find them and open them. And that has actually caused me to have less time just unlocking my phone and tapping on them out of habit. So doing whatever you can to minimize, interrupt, and reduce that phone screen time will be key. And the reason being, and I don't care if this is redundant once again, but the reason being is that more mental clutter clutters our spirit. And one of our biggest sicknesses right now is the extreme, overwhelming mental clutter that we face on a daily basis. Even if I'm not even just talking about the groundbreaking news that happens every day and interrupts our nervous system. I'm talking about just information, period. Information is a fine line between removing us and distancing us from what is true to us and actually gaining valuable information. And with the amount of information that we take in on a daily basis, we are more than anything just being removed from what actually matters. It's just mental overwhelm, information overload for really no purpose, no rhyme or reason. You can research how to be more spiritual and just get lost for hours in a deep dive on how to be more spiritual. And there is a boundary as to when this information is helping you and actually informing you, and when you are now just getting lost in a void of information that is only overwhelming you and now creates a stagnancy where you feel discouraged and you're not putting anything into action, and the cycle just repeats. And that's something we are definitely facing on a daily basis right now. We need to reduce the amount of time we spend engaging in that mental clutter in every way. Not to mention, if you think about it, you're constantly being pulled into an intangible world, which is the digital world on our phone, that is full of different types of rot, from AI images, AI videos, to brain rot content, posts, and conversations that lack severe critical thinking skills. It's a mess. And whether you think it's happening to you or not, this is rotting your brain. I know that's kind of a trendy term right now, brain rot, but it's actually a really accurate description because your brain is a muscle. And what you're not doing is exercising that muscle when you go onto the internet. So remember, being informed is different from being overindulgent. Start separating the two and return to more off-phone activities. Something I've returned to is playing Animal Crossing because it's just such a slower paced game. I used to love it when I was younger. And even though it's still a video game, it's still something digital. It is something that is slow and it really replenishes my soul. And it's something that, for me anyways, it does have a time limit. It's not so addictive that I just will keep going and going. And I also feel like it's giving me something valuable. I have also returned more to writing things rather than typing everything. Even if it's just taking notes on something, I try to write more often. Even with reading the seven habits of highly effective people, that has been my read now for a few months. I know it sounds like a long time, but I'm trying to ingest information slower and very intentionally. So every time I read that, I will read a few pages and take deep notes on it. I will reflect, I'll highlight things. And these are just a couple examples for me. They may not work for you, but this is how you can kind of move off screen and kind of start to train yourself to not be so fast-paced and so addicted to mental overload all the time. Next, I need you to frequently commune with nature. No, you don't have to go sit by a tree and hug the tree and commune with the tree. That is not what I'm talking about. We tend to have this very flashy idea of what being like a spiritual guru means, and it means you're like out in nature, like touching the trees and singing with the wind and everything. And that's great and all if you are somebody who can do those activities and you enjoy those activities, but don't get caught up in the very flashy, glamorized, romanticized version of spirituality you see in short form content where people are acting like goddesses or fairies out in the wilderness. That is not necessary. What I mean by this is most of us probably live in congested, populated areas. Even if you don't, this still applies to you. You may not have access to much of nature as a whole, but that's okay. You really just need to go outside. Nature is all around us, whether we like it or not. No matter how big of a city we live in, nature is all around us. There are trees, there are birds, there's animals of some kind, there's the sky, the sun, the weather, whatever the weather is that day. You need to make sure that you are going outside and not just walking. I don't mean just taking a walk and having a podcast in or playing music or being on your phone while you walk. No, I mean taking an intentional walk. You need to take an intentional walk outside where you're actually listening to what's going on around you. Notice the qualities of nature around you, such as the wind rustling through the leaves. Actually make it like a game. Make it like a game where you try to recognize the sounds you hear coming from nature, coming from natural things. Most of us are not going to avoid hearing backdrops of city life, and that is what it is. But you can hear birds. You can hear birds. You can hear squirrels rustling on the leaves, jumping around in the leaves. You can hear the wind through the branches in the trees. You can look at the trees and take it in. If you really take in what's happening around you, there's so much life. And one of my favorite things that nature reminds me of, from animals to plants to insects, don't love insects that much, I'm not gonna lie, but still, this still applies to them, is that there is so much more life that just keeps on keeping on despite everything that we have going on as humans. And that might sound silly, that might sound like an oversimplification, and that's not what I mean. But what I mean is it's a beautiful way to just be present again, to return to presence. One of the ways that you become more spiritual and get more in tune with your spirit, essentially, is to become more grounded. Return to groundedness. The world will keep us swept off our feet and in a whirlwind, in a digital whirlwind that is really not fully real. A lot of the things we see online are not real. Even the people we see posting a lot of times are not real. Hello, dead internet theory. Dead internet theory is definitely a thing. And we need to return to what is real. Nature is the realest thing that we have in our world. So it is such a grounding, humble reminder of returning to things that are right in front of us and the things that really do matter. Engaging yourself physically. When we engage the senses and return to the senses, we are grounding ourselves actively. That's why if you've ever done a meditation, they tell you to become conscious of your muscles and to relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, because the more unconscious we are of how our physical state is all the time, the more sick we get, the more tension we have, the more angry we are, the more upset we are. And it's because we're not ever checking in. And nature is just a beautiful way to really check in and to observe how other living beings function without all of the extra mess that us humans create for ourselves. But it doesn't even have to be a walk. You can make it more fun. Maybe take yourself out on a little picnic, or maybe take a journal out with you, or a sketchbook. Maybe you like to draw, even if this is not about being good at it. This is just about enjoying it. Maybe you like to draw. Take a little book outside, go sit on a bench and just read or draw or journal. Again, without headphones or anything obstructing you from hearing and being present with what's going on around you. It may feel boring at first, but I'm going to be a little annoying again, okay? Let's reframe the word boredom into stillness and peace. Boredom will be synonymous with stillness and peace. It may feel boring at first because we are so used to living in basically a giant slot machine all the time, which is so unhealthy. It is so unhealthy for us. And the way we have been conditioned to never feel boredom is one of the primary ways that our nervous system has been hijacked. Therefore, our connection to our spirit has been hijacked. Stillness is essential for your physical and mental health because it allows our body time to truly process and reflect on life as a whole. It's kind of similar to how your computer needs time to save, download, and process information that you've transferred into it. If you continuously input new information before it gets to finish the download and process cycle, the system will get overwhelmed and probably break down. We essentially stay in this overdrive mode that pulls us further away from our soul, which then translates into our physical body via the nervous system. And all of this just pulls us away from being more spiritual, more grounded, and more fulfilled. Sorry, guys. I told you. Spring equinox, no joke. Next, I'm going to need you to eat intentionally. I'm going to keep this one short because I don't want to harp on this for too long. Yes, I have my own little snacks I enjoy and whatever, but majority of the time I'm eating intentionally. meaning that I'm not trying to become more spiritual while eating willy-nilly and just having the most processed food and the most junk foods. Your diet is always going to be essentially one of the most important things to regrounding yourself and becoming more in tune with your body, because the more that your body has been hijacked by processed foods, by essentially experiencing the slot machine of foods that we have in especially Western society, the less grounded in your spirit you're going to be, the less in tune with yourself that you're going to be. And that's just what it is. Eat more intentionally, focus on more simple, whole foods, and do not overindulge yourself in bad foods. Plain and simple. Keep your soul clean. Next, I highly advise you return to the basics. And I know that this is very vague, but in a society overly concerned with consumption and materialism, returning to the basics can be powerfully transformative for us. Essentially, I mean that you need to strip yourself of the things that you think you need. Strip yourself of the things you've been conditioned and brainwashed essentially to think that you need, to rediscover what actually matters to you. This is a form of cleansing the healthy, overindulgent, over-consumerism culture that you've been placed under. A recent example for myself is that I have stopped wearing makeup 98% of the time. And for maybe the past couple years, I'd already started to wean myself off of makeup. I used to be someone who would wear heavy, full foundation every day and full eye makeup, eyebrows. I felt like I had to have everything done before I went out anywhere. And over the past couple of years, I would really only wear like a very light, like I wouldn't even wear foundation anymore. I would just wear like a tinted serum or sunscreen situation with some powder, blush, and maybe a little eye makeup and whatever. But recently, I'm not going to get fully into this, and you can let me know if you want another podcast style video expanding on this. But with everything going on, I started to feel like, I'm like, what am I doing? I love makeup, and I'm wearing a little bit right now. Granted, it's literally not much. I have almost no skin makeup on at all because I keep blowing my nose anyways, so what was the point? And I have pimple patches on down here. I have a little bit of mascara and I just have my eyebrows. That is far less makeup than I've ever worn in the past on my channel. So I digress. But on a daily basis, not even to work, I have not been wearing makeup, maybe just a little lip gloss or something. And that's because I just felt intuitively that it was time to strip my soul of these things we've been conditioned to believe that we need, because they are rooted in such disgusting foundations, such disgusting roots so much of the time, as we've recently discovered with, the Epstein files and whatnot. Sorry to drop that disgusting title in this video, but to be quite frank, to be quite honest, I was just like, wow, I already knew that we had a lot of unhealthy conditioning, especially as women, and men do too. We have a lot of unhealthy conditioning. And one of those things that has contributed to unhealthy conditioning and the unhealthy, disgusting, creepy gaze of others has been the beauty industry. And even though, again, I'm not boycotting the beauty industry entirely, I love makeup and I'll continue to wear it as I please. Maybe one day I'll want to wear more makeup again. Who knows? I don't care. And I'm going to let myself do that. But that's not the point. I'm not saying you need to boycott everything you love, the brands you love, whatever. I'm saying that you need to return to the basics. If you find that you have a cupboard or a cabinet in your bathroom full of skincare products, anti-aging skincare products, and you never use any of them, I'm talking to you. Okay, we get so caught up in the consumerism of being more beautiful, being more spiritual, being more fit, being more healthy, being more conscious, like eco-conscious, whatever the case may be. And we're just like, oh my gosh, I have to buy that. I have to buy that. If I don't buy that, I'm not pretty. If I don't buy that, I'm not healthy. If I don't buy that, I'm not eco-conscious. Whatever it is, return to the basics. There's a song by Jhené Aiko, been one of my favorite artists since I was like 13 or 14 years old. And she has a song called Everything. And if you can find that song, because I don't think it's on YouTube, I think you can only listen on SoundCloud, but that song is perfectly encompassing what I'm trying to tell you guys through returning to the basics. It's essentially saying everything must go. Like everything you think you know, forget about it. Clean out the items you literally don't use from your closet, from your skincare, your beauty, from whatever other things you might have that you are just holding on to because you think you need them. You bought them out of the basis of conditioning and influence and brainwash, not from a place of where your soul is actually aligned. And your soul is actually like, yes, I like this, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to wear that. I'm going to participate in this. So again, it isn't so much about boycotting these things that we enjoy. It's more about realizing that you are fulfilled and confident with or without those things. You're not reliant on those things to give you value, and you're not reliant on other people's influence to tell you what is going to give your life value. By doing so, you can return to discovering what actually brings you a true sense of value. And that goes back to your own discernment, your own intuition, and your own instincts, reconnecting to all of those essential factors that are part of your inherent spirit and nobody else's. This next one might be a bit of a tough one, so buckle up. I hope you have a little yummy snack or a little comforting drink or some tea or something, because I'm going to hold your hands, actually, I'm going to hold both hands through the screen while I tell you this. Embrace the difficulties you are facing. Stop running from yourself and feeding the ego to run from yourself. Have the audacity and the grit to sit and face yourself, but not just face yourself, face what's difficult, period. Going back to this intangible digital world that we participate in on a daily basis, one of the things that is wildly unhealthy about it is the algorithm. The magic of the algorithm is that it creates this world for us specifically where we can engage in only what we agree with and only what we enjoy, and we can negate everything else. And what this actually does is this weakens our ability to face what is difficult and learn how to emotionally process this and transmute it. Because you can't process and transmute something that you have no access to in the first place or that you reject entirely in the first place. It creates this really, really stark boundary between our own little made up world and other people's worlds or the outside world, or maybe things that we don't want to face but we should face. And what happens is you get everybody bickering because they're offended when anything that doesn't align with their personal world shows up on their feed, when that shouldn't need to be the case. Now, that's an exaggerated example because I'm not saying you guys are those people necessarily, okay? But the message is this. Most of us who are watching this video have had enough privilege to grow up in a society that makes a lot of things easier and softer for us. But by doing so, we also become unable to face anything remotely difficult because we want it all to be simple, easy, and accommodating for us personally. But the harsh truth about being more spiritual and enlightened is that it's truly strengthened by incorporating darkness. Our most powerful rebirths, most valuable knowledge, and greatest confidence stems from our ability to transmute our dark experiences and the dark truths of the world around us. And going back to experiencing stillness/boredom, part of the reason slowing down and experience that stillness is so difficult for us is because we do not want to face the tough emotions that reside within us. What we're doing is we're filling ourselves with fake light in things that we think are giving us gratification and happiness, but once those are removed, you're left with the darkness that you fear so much, because the darkness will only grow stronger the more that you reject it. If you cannot take the time to slow down and face whatever it is that you are feeling, whatever it is you're experiencing, whether it involves you personally and things you're experiencing personally, or it involves external influences. It doesn't matter. If you can't sit down and face those things and be honest about them and be honest about your emotions around them, having a real connection to your own spirit and being more spiritual is completely thrown out the window. You can just turn off the video now. In doing this, you must also be able to evaluate what is unhealthily feeding your ego and causing you to ignore or suppress your spirit. To give you an example, even though this is a pretty, I guess, serious or dramatic example, but one of the lessons of my Saturn return was definitely around my need for community validation, external validation. Something that I had been running from, a shadow that I didn't know I was trying to suppress or hide for a long time, was a shadow around validation. And even though it's okay to like praise and want validation, especially from people who matter to you, I'm talking about it was unhealthy to the point that I was finding it in places where I shouldn't have been searching for it. And I definitely paid for that. I definitely paid the price for that. And it took a lot of pain. And it took a rock bottom moment for me to finally realize, what am I doing? I need to really sit down with myself. No external person to, hug me and be like, it's okay, it's okay. No, 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 no. Needed to have time to be with myself and face the shadow and face the darkness. And it was really hard, guys. It was so difficult for me to do that. I wanted so badly to reach my hand out and have somebody there to give me a sense of comfort and to tell me that I'm not this monster and I don't have this shadow and that I'm the greatest thing in the world and I'm such an angel. Okay. No, I forced myself. I said I forced myself to be alone and to face it alone and to confront it. And by doing so, I really, truly learned. It hit me like a brick, like a ton of bricks, actually. But I really learned what it is that was going on deeper within my soul. Okay. I explored it. I challenged it. I did the things I was scared to do, which was be completely alone in the face of this darkness that I would experience. And by doing so, I had my deepest transformation, and it made me the most loving and the most confident and powerful I've ever been. And that bled into many other aspects of my life. One of the reasons I'm able to show up so much with pimple patches and a red nose from blowing my nose and less makeup on YouTube is because I'm so much more confident now, because I realized I stripped myself and I went back to the basics, and I realized I don't need to be the prettiest person all the time. Where did I get the idea that I need to be in the running to be the prettiest girl in every room I walk into if I can help it? And where did I get the idea that validation, like external validation, is all I should be fighting for? Where did I really explored, where did I get these concepts? Where did they come from? And that's where going back to basics, stripping yourself of the things that you don't actually need, is such a powerful way to explore whatever shadow is you're experiencing and transform it so it no longer has power over you. I would never in the past have been able to show up to this YouTube video looking like this. I would have considered this totally unacceptable and embarrassing, quite frankly. But now, if I show up to a video with more makeup on, with false eyelashes and whatever, it's because I want to. I just feel like it that day, not because I feel like I have to. That's the difference. And that is the power, the confidence, the sovereignty that exploring your shadow and being able to sit with it does for you. We also have a tendency to ignore, or we have the privilege to ignore, darker things going on in the world. And even though I'm not someone who thinks that we should be overindulging again in the information heavy content that comes our way about every bad thing happening in the world, I do think that part of our shadow work as a collective is to realize that a lot of times the energy we're experiencing is kind of like a grand mirror to us. It's reflecting something that we have manifested on a greater level. And that's not to take blame away from the disgusting monsters that are truly to blame for disgusting things that have transpired. Absolutely not. However, we also have to change. We also have to be able to face our shadows on an individual level for real change to actually show on a greater level. We are all droplets in the vast ocean of the population of the world and of the planet. So if we can't even do that on an individual level, those shadows are going to manifest on a greater level and they're going to be shown back at us as a reflection. So do with that what you will, but yes, you must embrace the shadows. Last but not least, have fun. Enjoy yourself. There is no spiritual journey without experiencing childlike joy. That is just not. I mean, I think I referenced this in a video not that long ago, I read about in one of the stories in the Bible where it says something about heaven belongs to those who are childlike, or heaven belongs to the children, or something like that. And it's just emphasizing the magic of the inner child and the childlike spirit and childlike joy. That is truly one of the closest connections to spirit, to our soul, that we can have, is that connection to the inner childlike joy. If there's one thing I've learned in my experience of being a very spiritually inclined person, really my entire life, but especially in my adulthood, is that the world is definitely like your biggest opponent when it comes to spiritual warfare. The world will do everything in its power to try and strip you from your power, which is your inner child. Your inner child is the source of everything. It's a source of every motivator, every spark, every happiness, everything that you feel, everything that keeps you going, the inner child. So what did you do as a kid? What did you enjoy as a kid? Or even if your hobbies have changed or your passions have changed, what do you enjoy? Instill joy in your life. And it doesn't have to be this big planned out thing, you know, like it can be just maybe like building Legos. Buy some Legos and turn on an old show you used to like. Joy is one of our greatest weapons for sure. And so to instill joy in your life in even a small way, even a tiny little way every day, have fun, have joy, make an effort to instill it in your life regularly if you need to, and just, yeah, feel joy, feel happiness. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, but most importantly, leave a comment down below, because there are so many other people that might be feeling like you. I also want to know your personal experience, or if you have any tips that you would like to add for other people to try, myself included. I hope that all of you are keeping your hearts full, keeping your joy strong in these dark times. I have also been struggling, and we're just not alone. I hope this video reminded you that you're not alone, and kind of was able to reground and offer a sense of clarity around how to maybe realign yourself spiritually in a time that feels so turbulent and dark, but from a more down-to-earth, realistic perspective, not a very flashy, glamorized, romanticized version. But until I see you in the next video, thank you so much, so much eternally for being here. I always appreciate your presence. Till next time. Adios.